Victoria's politicians and doctors are divided over the Andrews government's plans to legalise assisted dying for the terminally ill. The government will unveil the details of its proposed legislation tomorrow, and if it's passed in a conscience vote next year, Victoria would become the first Australian state to legalise voluntary euthanasia. Frances Bell reports.
Dr Rodney Syme has spent more than 2 decades assisting the terminally ill in their final stages of life.
People struggling to breathe, fearful that their next breath might be their last. It's a most terrifying experience.
His campaign for voluntary euthanasia could soon be realised. The government will tomorrow reveal the details of proposed legislation to legalise physician-assisted dying.
Parliaments around Australia are actually out of step with community view and community sentiment on these issues.
The bill will be based on a landmark report from a cross-party parliamentary committee in June. It recommended the regime should only apply to terminally ill adults, those who are mentally competent and can give informed consent, and must be signed off by 2 doctors. The fine detail of the bill is expected to be overseen by a panel of legal and medical experts. It'll be introduced to Parliament next year and put to a conscience vote.
Legislation would set up safeguards and ensure that people weren't exploited at the end of their life.
But opinion is divided among doctors.
We are against the deliberate ending of a patient's life by medically assisted means.
And politicians.
The safeguards don't work. The goalposts always move.
Doctors are saying be wary of any of these kinds of bills. They are dangerous.
I'm absolutely against any form of physician-assisted dying legislation being introduced into this parliament, and I will definitely fight against it.
Others are declaring an open mind.
My wife died suddenly this year, so she spent a long time in intensive care, and it just puts a whole new perspective on the process.
With such a wide range of views on this issue, there's likely to be extensive and emotional debate in the Parliament. But introducing the legislation next year will avoid having it caught up in a politically charged election year in 2018. Frances Bell, ABC News, Melbourne.
Well, as Frances mentioned there, it's a big call for politicians to decide on such a controversial issue. Let's hear now from 2 Victorians for whom the euthanasia debate is very personal. Belinda Rogers has multiple sclerosis and lives with chronic pain, and Sue Jensen is battling terminal lung cancer.
Here we're having this conversation that's really very important and needs to be had, but it's being run on both sides by people that aren't sick. They really have no idea of the day-to-day impact that having a terminal illness can have on me personally and on my family and my friends. It seems to me that a lot of people that are able to access euthanasia don't even access it themselves anyway. They're comforted that it's there if they should need it. I'm not there yet, and I'm not planning on being there yet. For me, it's about having all the options there as part of my treatment, not a selection of options that somebody has censored based on their religious or medical or cultural or ethical beliefs about what they think I should have. If 80% or thereabouts of Victorians think this is something that we should have, then politicians should be taking that into consideration. You're entitled to die with some sort of peace and dignity.
My message at this stage would be not yet. I think palliative care before euthanasia. I live in horrendous pain all the time. It feels to a great many of us that legislation is being drafted that will actually make it easier for us to access dying rather than being able to access a fulfilling life. Once a law has been passed, amendments can be made. So those safeguards can very easily be eroded. I 100% would never be advocating for a horrific and ghastly end for anybody. I think it's that fear of lack of dignity, fear of pain, that drives a lot of people towards wanting assisted suicide. I'm not afraid of experiencing what death may bring. I'm not going to run away from those last moments of my life. I'll experience them.